Hey, welcome into Top 5 Tuesday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton, coming to you from the studios here at our Main Street Murray office in Columbia. That's Wade Neely rocking the Memphis Grizzlies throwback jersey, I guess, from his home.
Throw
Wade.
it back. Little Tuesday action.
Summer
league's
is?
about summer league. It's old school Mike Bibby. It's about all the basketball we got outside of summer league. But man, do we have no shortage of highlights from Vegas last night. But feeling my NBA blues a little bit today, so I decided to rock the gear.
That's a good look. I'm not sure. Well, all of Memphis.
I did get several compliments. I wore this on the plane when we flew to Vancouver, where we reported for our Alaska trip. So the Vancouver natives were proud to show a little love there. Got some props for that one.
Repping in the Pacific Northwest, I guess, or in Canada's case, the Pacific Southwest, I guess, right? But that's pretty cool. Big show today. Not a whole lot of hoops going on. But in the second hour, we are going to speak with Jeff Murphy, former MTSU quarterback and current co-host of Group of Five Guys podcast. They are one of the preeminent sources for Group of Five college football discussion and conversation. And we're going to visit with him about his former team and a little bit more, probably. So that'll be at the top of the 3 o'clock hour. Jeff Murphy joining us in the absence of the Blue Raider voice, Chip Walters. How dare he go on vacation, man? But that's okay. We got Jeff. We'll be good. In the next segment, we'll be joined by Thomas Harding of MLB.com. He covers the Rockies, and no word if he's getting combat pay for that or not. We might have to ask him while we've got him on the air. But talk a little All-Star game coming up tonight down at Truist Park. Get him to weigh in on the Jacob Mizorowski situation. And again, the Rockies are awful. I feel bad for T. Harding, but we're gonna check in with him in the next segment. Also be talking a little soccer, some other college football aside from MTSU and Conference USA. Again, the SEC Football Media Days continue down in Atlanta today. We'll wrap up on Thursday, so plenty to get to out of the SEC. A little National Football League talk from here close. College basketball. We kind of touched on this situation peripherally yesterday when we had Joe Sullivan from Main Street Media on. Tennessee State, well, we can get into it now. Obviously, they had a coaching change a few weeks ago when Penny Collins left the Tigers to take a position on the Memphis Grizzlies staff.
Mm-hmm.
There was an interim coach named, and his interim might be coming to an end pretty soon if recent reports are any indication. So we'll get into that a little bit more during the grab bag in the second hour. Also a little WNBA talk as well. And again, it is Top 5 Tuesday, our final segment of the show. Wade and I like to bring you our top 5 on some prescribed topic, sometimes totally out of nowhere, sometimes completely obvious, and sometimes kind of in the middle. Today's kind of falls in there, but it's got a backstory. But stick around for it because I think you're going to like it. So, again, plenty to get into, plenty to discuss. Not a lot, though, Wade, in today's rundown. But let's go ahead and give the people yesterday's results and today's schedule on it.
This is the Rundown.
You got it, boys and girls. Time for your Tuesday rundown, which means we do wind back the clock. We did have a couple of WNBA scores last night, regular season action rolling for them. Minnesota did get its revenge on the Sky. 91-78 was your final there. And, man, great game in our nightcap. We teased it yesterday. Phoenix outlasting Golden State. 78-77 was your final. Again, 2 games last night in WNBA action. Minnesota and Phoenix were your 2 winners.
Man, Golden State's been playing some barn burners lately. They lost that 104-102 game to Vegas over the weekend before this one. So the expansion team really holding their own, taking a couple of tough losses, but still, the Valkyries playing awfully well right now. Tonight's schedule, 7 o'clock on Fox, it is the American League versus the National League at Atlanta's Truist Park in the All-Star game. WNBA action tonight. Man, this is tough scheduling. 7 o'clock on ESPN, you've got the Indiana Fever traveling to New England, taking on the Connecticut Sun. At 9 o'clock, it's the Washington Mystics at the LA Sparks. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the rundown. Your top story brought to you, as always, by the fine folks at Piggly Wiggly and Neely's Mill in Columbia. Be sure and check out their delicious daily deli lunch options, available from 11 a.m. until 6 p.m. Also, their hand-cut meats, and everything is cost plus 10% at the cash register. Piggly Wiggly, Neely's Mill, Columbia, bringing you our top story. And it feels like it's a long time coming, but I guess it's better late than never. I don't know. The Nashville Soccer Club had a singular all-star, Andy Nahar. They now have three, as Sam Surridge, I guess he's still the Golden Boot owner to this point, right?
Last I had checked, I mean, he's scored a couple times. It would have taken a pretty good leap from somebody behind him to overtake him.
He and Lionel Messi are tied, excuse me, for the Golden Boot currently. He is now an MLS All-Star, as is Hani Mukhtar. So I guess there's something to be said for seeing the error of your ways and then correcting it. Mukhtar is a four-time All-Star selection now. 10 goals, 8 assists. His 18-goal contributions are sixth most in the league. Again, Surridge, first-time All-Star, has 12 goals. I'm sorry, he had 12 goals last year. Now he has 16 goals in 22 MLS matches, and they will join again teammate Andy Nahar, who has 8 assists and a goal in 21 games for the boys in gold. So, they'll be pretty well represented in the All-Star game, and well-deserved given the way they've played to this point.
Yeah, I don't think anybody is going to raise much of a fuss, kind of like we talked about in the MLB circles yesterday. Two deserving guys, two guys that to the casual fan or the lay person, if you will, probably would have been your first two that you would have thought would have been selected. But like you said, better late than never. These guys aren't going to take this recognition kind of lightly. They're gonna make advantage of it and take advantage of it, I should say. So hopefully, you'll have a little Nashville flavor as they kind of roll into town, and it's good to kind of see Nahar alone. You know, if it had been just him, you wouldn't have necessarily liked it. But Nashville again was coming from such a bottom out from last year. I could maybe see why it would not have been a more than a sole selection. But the fact that you have all three, it kind of really signifies what Nashville has achieved in this first half of the season.
For sure. The MLS All-Star game is set for from tomorrow, Wednesday night, down in Austin. The MLS All-Stars will take on Liga MX's All-Stars in that matchup. You can see it on Apple TV. It's an 8 o'clock start. I don't know if that's 8 o'clock our time or 8 o'clock Eastern time, but it's 8 o'clock somewhere. So, should be a fun event. And again, an opportunity for those three guys to put on for their city down in Austin.
Yeah, and the format will be conducive. I think this is, we've seen in years past. Okay, your MLS All Stars take on insert big European club here, which usually is kind of beginning its summer conditioning tour, like a lot of clubs will do across the United States. But when you throw a Liga MX into the mix, suddenly that cranks the intensity up quite a bit. And if you're looking for kind of an exhibition that really won't necessarily feel like an exhibition, you're kind of in this spot here. And so I think this format will produce some entertaining moments. Might even produce some skirmishes along the way. But yeah, both of these two leagues very prideful. League MX has obviously kind of had the better of the MLS for a long, long time in terms of CONCACAF Champions League and things, other competitions of that nature. So they'll go out and they'll play well. It'll be fun to see Surge and Mukhtar kind of get into the mix. And anytime, Nahar kind of getting his just due too. I mean, that's what's so impressive to me. Yeah, you have an elite goal scorer. You have a kind of playmaker / goal scorer in Mukhtar, and then you have Nahar. It kind of perfectly encapsulates what Nashville has been about. They've achieved at all three levels this year, at the back all the way up to the top.
Yeah. Interested, like you said, against Liga MX. We talked yesterday about how uncompetitive, I guess, maybe the Major League Baseball All-Star game has become. I don't think that will be an issue, to your point, in this contest next week.
Shouldn't be.
Feels like this will definitely be flowing in this one.
You would think, and you would hope. Like I said, they've taken on some teams: Arsenal, Man U, Juventus, Roma, a couple Spanish teams. Your big ones in Atletico and Real Madrid as well. So I mean, that's all well and good, and that's a ticket selling opportunity for sure. If you're not into the MLS roster, if you have a team like Chelsea that comes in and plays a match like that kind of could draw in some casuals. But if you're looking for kind of just out-and-out competition, especially being in Austin, the Liga MX flavor and fans will be there. They would travel anywhere, but especially in that part of the United States. So it will be pretty entertaining. It'll be pretty buzzworthy. And I'm excited to kind of see the Nashville guys get their minutes. Hopefully all of them get in. Hopefully all of them have a good little run. And hopefully all of them return to Nashville safely.
I think that, particularly considering the season that the boys in gold are having to this point, I think that's a key aspect, that nobody go and incur some most untimely injury or something that would keep them off the pitch once they resume MLS play. So something you got to look out for there, I guess. Interesting. The original roster was selected through a combination of voting. 12 players were voted on. 12 players were selected by All-Star coach Nico Estevez, and 2 players were selected by MLS Commissioner Don Garber. And then Estevez named an additional 6 players earlier today, including the 2 from NSC. So, that's a, for somebody who's not very knowledgeable about the situation, such as myself, that's an interesting way to go about it, I guess. So,
kind of unique, right? The coach gets to pick a couple. Then we let the fans kind of, get their say so. And then the coach, gets to add kind of the rest. And I mean, the fact that all 3 of the Nashville selections, make of this what you will, but to me, it seems kind of impressive. The fact that you're picked by the coach. And if you didn't get voted in, like Surge, or selected, I should say, via vote in terms of these 2 guys, Surge and Mukhtar, I mean, it makes you feel good, makes you kind of get a little warm, tingly feeling, knowing that, hey, the coach kind of made sure that he wanted these guys added to the list.
Yeah, and I guess that's kind of the positive way to look at it. To me, it's interesting, and maybe it just speaks to the exposure or lack of that the Nashville Soccer Club has gotten to this point, that all 3 of these guys were coaches' picks and none of them were voted in, despite, the team's performance to this point. But again, regardless, NSC will have 3 guys in next week's All-Star game down in Austin. Something to keep an eye on. Again, they return home tomorrow night. We'll take on the Columbus crew at Geodis Park as they come back from that tough 2-1 loss down at Inter Miami on Saturday. So huge, to me, matchup tomorrow night.
Yeah, it should be a big one. Looking forward to seeing kind of how they come out and respond to a little adversity. Kind of curious, does Walker Zimmerman kind of get inserted back into the starting lineup? We mentioned yesterday that Schaffelberg, after some time away with Canada and also a little bit of a knock, is back in. He didn't necessarily have his best. We certainly aren't seeing him at the level that we saw him last season. So maybe some guys a chance to kind of step up, play well, kind of deliver. This will be a massive showdown. There won't be quite as many eyeballs on it as there was that Philadelphia game that we mentioned a couple weeks ago was on FS1. There's at the midweek, the attention factor does kind of dwindle on a national level, but it feels like if you're kind of in the know, if you're kind of in the mix, this is almost, if not as much critical as that match against Philadelphia was a couple Saturdays ago.
Certainly. We'll be keeping an eye on that one and get you our thoughts coming out of it on Thursdays. Street Sports Today, so be sure and come back for that. Let's take a break here. Again, it is Top 5 Tuesday here on MSST. When we come back, we'll be joined by Thomas Harding of MLB.com talking a little Major League Baseball All-Star game getting set to take place tonight down in Atlanta. Stick around.
Deep in a forest at Nashville Zoo, new creatures here for you to view. Phantoms graced in black and white swing high in trees of dappled light. In rocky crags, tall and steep, small antelopes with nimble feet. A wise old man with beard of white, a sentry perched on stony height. Amidst it all, a hunter lies, with coat of gold and steely eyes. A new adventure just for you. Leopard Forest at Nashville Zoo. Open now.
Busy bee, yeah, busy bee. If you need
Hold on, y'all, hold on. I need to make a call. Hey, this is Brianna with Busy Bee. I'm giving you a call to let you know your technician is on his way.
333.
Busy bee. Guys, not yet. Not yet.
Busy bee, oh,
Now
busy
ready,
bee.
guys.
Call 775-7833.
Custom Stone Handlers supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with Riverstone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe the measure of any person or company is how you treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStoneHandlers.com.
Top 5 Tuesday continues here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton. That is Wade Neely. The arrival of Thomas Harding of MLB.com to talk a little All-Star game. Again, coming up tonight down in Atlanta. We talked a little bit, and I'm looking forward to getting Thomas's thoughts regarding, the addition of Jacob Misiorowski to the National League roster, among other things. We also talked to John Parado last week from Pittsburgh Baseball Now about Paul Skeens. He's getting the ball to start yet again for the National League, despite that 4-8 record. And, saw some interesting chatter on Twitter last night, again, where I spend way too much time, but kind of dispelling wins and losses, particularly in the case of a guy like a Paul Skeens, who has obviously been pitching lights out and doesn't have the wins to show for it because he doesn't. And maybe that devalues wins. I don't know. That's I feel like it's an interesting topic, and we can talk a little bit more about it now with Thomas Harding from MLB.com. T, are you there?
I am here. Are you
Hello?
hearing me?
What's up, Thomas?
Hey there. How's it going, everybody?
We can't hear you.
Okay.
I got him.
Okay. Do you have
You
me
got
now?
him? We do. Yeah, we do.
Okay. I am
Welcome
in
to the
now.
party.
All right. How are you gentlemen
You are,
doing?
man. We're doing well. How are you?
I feel good. I feel clean. I've got what it takes to win a championship.
Now we're talking,
There you go.
baby.
Which is more
That's right.
which is more than we can say for the team that you cover, but we'll get to that here at a later point in the segment. We're just talking though, Thomas. We talked to our Colorado from Pittsburgh last week, and he was saying he didn't expect Paul Skeens to get the start tonight with that 4-7 at the time, now 4-8 record. I guess Dave Roberts and others thought otherwise. What's your feel for a sub 500 pitcher getting the start in an All-Star game?
Well, I think that the win itself has been so devalued. And let's face it, when you look at all of his numbers, how many of those losses were his fault? I mean, really, come on. You know, if you're the best pitcher in the game, you're the best pitcher in the game. If you're pitching that way, and maybe there may come a time now that people are paying attention to those things that someone will win the Cy Young with a 500 or sub 500 record. You just don't know. For me, I think the All-Star game, especially if you're looking at that part of the year, I have a hard time blaming wins and losses on a starting pitcher on a team that struggles the way that one does. Now, I do think that when you are a championship type team, the win matters because it means that you're pitching through some things, maybe in the middle of the game where you lose the lead, but you stay out there and you're able to pitch long enough to get your team the lead. So, you know, I understand the devaluing of wins, but I do think that if you're in a pennant race, sometimes those things matter. At the midseason and All-Star game, I don't have a huge problem with this.
I think what you're saying makes sense. But I mean, I don't think you can just do away with wins and losses for pitchers just because, I mean, to your point, if you're in a championship race or if you're playing for something, then yeah, it means something. If your team is horrible, then it doesn't. And obviously there's a double standard built in there. I'm not saying that. Well, maybe I am saying that a guy needs to be penalized.
Sorry, I'm kind of cutting
wins
in and
loss.
out. Okay, are you hearing me?
Yeah.
Yeah, we hear you. It must
Okay,
be
great. All right.
something on this
Yeah,
end.
I think that and for the All-Star game, let's face it, the All-Star game is an exhibition, and when you look at it, a lot of people do not get to see much of the Pittsburgh Pirates. They're not on ESPN a lot. Now they are on Apple quite a bit, and I think that's been a good thing for them is that you do get to see a Paul Skeens. But generally, baseball on a national level is for the large market teams. So starting him in an All-Star game, I think, is a good thing for the game itself, for the sport itself.
That's my thought on it, Thomas. Is we have kind of debated, and we'll talk about another controversial All-Star roster topic in a second. But kind of MLB seemingly at a little bit of a crossroads. You need to pay service to your guys that have certainly earned that honor and that distinction, but also kind of growing the game. And I love what you just said. Getting folks an opportunity. We've talked at length about the ability to watch teams if you're not in a market. This is a chance for folks to maybe get their first or maybe second or third at most look at this guy tonight.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, and I go back to, I grew up in a small town in West Virginia where you didn't see a lot of baseball, but when you did, it was the game of the week, which meant you got a lot of the bigger market teams. You got the Yankees and the Red Sox a lot. At the time, the Reds were very good, so you got the Reds on television a lot. But I would tune in to the All-Star game because maybe I haven't seen much of the Angels or the Padres or teams out west, or maybe some of the teams that aren't at the top of their divisions like the Texas Rangers at the time. So I think the All-Star game has to carry that purpose a little bit to celebrate the game and celebrate the fact that you have more than a few teams.
Wade spoke to it. We might as well go ahead and jump into it as we talk about, showcasing, some of the best that the game has to offer, both guys with longer track records and guys with no track records. What was your reaction to Jacob Mizorowski of the Milwaukee Brewers, who was just called up maybe 4 to 6 weeks ago from the Nashville Sounds, being named to the NL roster after making just 5 starts at the major league level?
Yeah, to me that was a bit much. I mean, I would like to see. I would like to see somebody who's had more of a track record during the season or at the start of the season. I'm not sure exactly what went into that particular one. I think the Brewers do have other representatives, if I'm not mistaken. And sometimes when it comes to pitchers, it's who's available. It's who didn't start 2 or 3 days before the game, and I think that's a big part of it too.
Let's see. The Brewers do not have a starter. They don't have any offensive reserves. Actually, Mizorowski
Okay, so
and
that's
Freddie
their
Peralta.
one. Okay.
Well, Freddie Peralta is also on the team. So yeah, those are their two. And Mizorowski is taking the place of someone who either opted out or is injured and unavailable. So but it kind of feels like to me that Mizorowski and Skeens are kind of in the same vein. Obviously, Skeens belongs on the team. Mizorowski is less clear cut, but Skeens starting, Mizorowski making the team are both in that growing type vein, it feels like, in terms of their status with this squad tonight.
Well, Mizorowski, I would look at in a different way because Skeens, he's been there all year. There's a track record, even from last season, just an incredible rookie year. So I put them in a little bit different situation there. I don't know that Mizorowski with the Milwaukee Brewers is going to get a lot of eyes to the game, but maybe he will. Maybe that's one of the guys that when you look at it, people are going to say, hey, I want to see this guy that I keep hearing about. But it is only a handful of starts, so I don't know how many people have heard about him. Yeah, that's one that I would struggle with a lot more than Skeen starting it, because I think if you were to talk to players who faced him, they feel like he's the starter for the National League. I mean, and like I say, we are especially, and I guess having been around the game as long as I have and watch trends go, the win does not make a huge bit of difference. I think that that gospel has been preached, that the pitcher win, it's usually dependent upon a lot of other things, including if you go to a relief pitcher, the performance of that relief pitcher if it's a close game.
Thomas, I also am wondering, so much chatter about Skeens, obviously a lot of chatter about Mizorowski. Does MLB kind of welcome this chatter, considering the alternative perhaps backdrop this game is framed around after it was moved in 2021? Is Marv Manfred thinking, okay, well, at least they're not talking about that quite as much? That's the way I would view it if I was MLB PR kind of today.
Well, I'm sure if I'm MLB PR, that does matter, but I would have to say that whether it's Dave Roberts or the players, they don't care about MLB PR at this point. I mean, that's their problem as far as that's concerned.
It makes sense. It just kind of has played out that we've gotten a ton of chatter about this, which also, in a weird way, this is sports radio, so we're kind of built for this. This is a lightning rod for sports radio in a time of the year where there's not a lot to talk about. So I kind of think that it adds an extra layer of buzz coming into a game tonight that MLB kind of desperately needs, it feels like.
Well, there's always something that the sport needs at this time of year. And you're right, not a lot is going on. It could be good, it could be bad, whether it's a labor situation, whether it's controversial players, controversial situations in the game. The All-Star game, it gets everything out there. So I don't know that the league particularly has to manufacture this. There is always something going on at this time of year in baseball.
And Thomas Harding of MLB.com is always there for it. Thomas, again, thanks for joining us. I know you are monitoring the draft for the Rockies, who are trying to, build for the future, obviously, at this point. Hunter Goodman being their one All-Star, and this is something that we've talked about kind of in passing. Do you feel like MLB will ever get away from every team having to be represented in the All-Star game?
I think if they ever got away from it, they would lose a lot of audience for that game because people will tune in. I mean, people in Colorado will tune in just to see him play. And in this particular case, he got the second most votes among players behind Will Smith of the Dodgers. So the players said this guy's an all-star. It's not like the Rockies had no all-stars because they're not a good team. And you can see that throughout history of baseball, that a lot of times there are good players on bad teams. Hey, Tony Gwynn went to a lot of all-star games, right? Steve Carlton, he won 27 games for a team that won something like 54 or 63 games one year. There is always an all-star. And in this particular case, where the players do have a bit of a vote in it, the players voted him in. So I don't see a problem with this. And I'd see a problem with any all-star game that did not have a player from each team. It's the all-star. It means all of baseball. I mean, if you wanted to have maybe a choose your team thing, that's what the World Baseball Classic is for, where you bring in the top stars and you may have 80% of some team's roster on the team.
Makes sense. What were your thoughts when you heard about the ABS system being added for tonight's game?
I see the ABS system as being added to the regular season very soon. I watched it in spring training. I actually saw some experiments in the Arizona Fall League and also in the Futures games of years past. And I'm like, why isn't this in the major leagues right now? Because it does not take long to challenge. And you see that, I think, now, does the AAA league that the Sounds are in, does that have that same system, the challenge system? The challenge system makes a lot of sense. I don't see a computer actually calling the balls and strikes. I think you run into a lot of problems if that is the case, but I have no problem with the ABS system where you're able to tap your helmet and challenge, and it doesn't take very long. I mean, it literally takes less time than it takes for the pitcher to take off his glove and rub the baseball or whatever it is that pitchers do between pitches. So I like this idea, and also there's some strategy involved with it because some of the teams that are doing this at the minor league level, they've actually developed some strategy. Maybe they tell their catchers or their hitters, do not challenge a pitch early in the game, or do not challenge a pitch until there are runners on base, or maybe multiple runners on base. So it adds strategy, and it's just like the runner at second base. Anything that enhances the game and adds a bit of strategy rather than take strategy away, I'm for it.
How much of tonight's effort in that regard, Thomas, is kind of more data? Is MLB really putting a lot of effort or thought into tonight's game specifically, or are they kind of going to maybe, in your mind, rely more on what they've gotten out at the minor league level?
Well, I'm sure part of the data will be fan reaction and discussion on the telecast. But I remember Mike Hill from the commissioner's office, who really is in charge of these things. He used to be the farm director for the Rockies and the general manager of the Miami Marlins. He's been looking at this for years. I mean, when they started it at the lower levels, do you go with a robo-ump, so to speak, or do you go with the challenge system? He spent years on this. There was a time before this year, a few years ago, where he's like, we're not ready exactly yet because they were still trying to calibrate the systems to make sure they were accurate. So the fact that this is going on right now, that it went on in spring training at the major league level, it means that a lot of research has gone into this. So it's not, I don't think this game will be a make or break, but this game does put it before an audience in the middle of your season.
It's like you said, it feels like it's just a matter of time with this. Again, we do see it here at First Horizon Park with the Nashville Sounds. It has gotten to be really pretty seamless. It's not a time suck or anything like that. And again, to your point, the strategy that comes along with it, you don't want to burn those challenges early on. I think you get to a game, so you got to kind of be frugal with them, obviously, and it's got to be at a point where it really kind of means something to get that pitch or to not get that pitch, that kind of thing. I'll be interested though, because again, given the exhibition aspect of this game relative to a regular season contest, just how much of that type strategy do we see in an all-star game setting.
Yeah, you may not see any of it other than the guy just wants to get a strike or get a ball out of it. I mean, and probably the players will be encouraged to use it just to put it before the national television audience. But there are a lot of young players in the All-Star game. A lot of these guys grew up in the minor leagues where they had some form of automated strike zone. So it's not like it's new, and that's what excuse me. That's what we found with just a number of different things, that when they're doing it in the minor leagues, it's less of an adjustment when they get to the majors.
That's a great point there, Thomas. Yeah, most of these youngsters have kind of already been engrossed in that, at least for the last couple of seasons.
Yeah, no doubt about that. So, no, I have very little problem with it, and I am happy that this thing flows so seamlessly, because the NBA, that's the one that the replay seems to take forever, and I obviously it's a little bit different. I guess it's more like the replay in the major leagues, but there's so much of it. It seems. I know there are certain limits, and people argue about them, but I like the fact that, hey, is it a ball? Is it a strike? Put it on the board. It's a strike. It's a ball, and keep playing baseball.
The thing that you got to be careful of, and you mentioned so many of these guys that have come through the minors that have encountered it, you run the risk if you're not careful. We saw somebody that an umpire thought it was antagonizing him when he was tapping his helmet, whether he was adjusting his helmet or if it was actually a tap a few weeks ago, and wound up getting ejected for it. So kind of got to be careful with that, I guess.
Well, but if you put in the challenge system, he taps his helmet, it's a challenge. You don't have to worry about whether a guy is doing it performatively or not. Once you put the rule in, you tap the helmet, it's a challenge. If you have no challenges, I'm sure that there are penalties for that. I can't remember what they are because it's been so seamless. But certainly for the rest of the season, if guys tap their helmet, then there's an easy way to solve that. You throw the guy out of the game and keep playing baseball.
Yeah. That's what happened there. Thomas Harding of MLB.com joining us here on Main Street Sports today. Thomas, I know you were kind of engrossed in draft duties last night with the Rockies and may or may not have seen a whole lot of the home run derby, but Cal Raleigh kind of did what Cal Raleigh has done all year. 56 home runs last night total to win the home run derby. First catcher to do so. I don't know necessarily what the significance of that position distinction is, but heck of a performance.
Yeah, well, I will say that if you look at home run leaders in any given year, and you could just scroll down Baseball Reference, you don't see catchers at the top of the list. I mean, or the ones you do, they're Hall of Famers. Mike Piazza, Johnny Bench had a whole lot of home runs. So I do think that there is some significance to it, especially if you look at that position. To hit that many home runs in an all-star game, home run derby, you wonder when he had time to practice it, because a lot of catchers who are back there so often, they cut down on the amount of batting practice. Now, you can go inside and have the systems. There's a system that actually shows you the pitcher, and you can hit a few off those, and maybe that makes batting practice a little bit more efficient. But the fact that he hit all those home runs and he's a switch hitter, that's a fine thing. My thing with the home run derby, and I've covered a few of those, is that sometimes the headline maker is not the winner. Like, for example, I think it was 2008 when Josh Hamilton of the Texas Rangers hit, I think, home runs. I think they were measured at 5 million feet cumulatively. And people think he won it, but it was actually Justin Morneau who won it. And Justin Morneau actually turned to someone and said, "You think anybody will ever remember that I won this thing?" So I like the fact that he did what he did there, and he was able to win the home run derby and have a performance like that be memorable and, be the first catcher to do it. I think the first switch hitter to win it outright, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, first catcher, first switch hitter. I mean, he kind of continues to defy some of the norms, at least offensively, of that position. Did it all left-handed, though, last night. I kind of see his logic there. If no matter what you can do on the right side of the plate, when you're in a groove like he was, you ain't switching it up.
That's right. You wonder if he'll pull that in the regular season, where if he gets into a groove, I'll just stay left-handed no matter who the pitcher is. Probably not. I think that, you don't want to disturb what you do. But, yeah, I mean, for him to to do what he did, hey, that's fine. That's fine. No problem. The home run derby for me at times has dragged on. So whenever you have a good story like that that keeps you involved in it, then I'm happy about it. I mean, let's face it, there are only so many ways that an announcer can call a home run. He can say back, 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 but then if he does it on everyone, he says it 5 million times, and you're rid of it. So some of the home run derby, I understand on the telecast, was a lot of launch angle and things like that. And frankly, sometimes that makes me fall asleep. But there are people out there that are probably sitting with their slide rules and compasses and protractors who are looking at this, and they're happy with it. So it's something for everybody.
Thomas, what do we think, or what do we make of Raleigh's comments when we talked about the ball boy getting involved and robbing Caminero there? And Cal Raleigh says, "Yeah, I paid him off." I don't know that I totally believe him, but I like the humor from Cal there.
Yeah. Anything that makes it a little bit more fun, and that ball boy has a memory for the rest of his life. Who knows? Maybe we'll see him in the major leagues robbing home runs at some point.
Wouldn't that be something? I was curious, not curious enough to actually go back through Baseball Reference, Thomas, but I was curious how many guys have been the league leader or the major league leader in home runs and won the home run derby. And, I don't know what that would look like, but again, as you said, the guy that you expect to win this thing typically does not. Raleigh certainly backed up the season he's had to this point with his performance last night.
Yeah, and I think hitting home runs in this setting can be a different skill than hitting them in the regular season, or it may not be. I mean, there's a lot of discussion. Do you go into the home run derby, or does it ruin your swing when you come out for the break? I would say that it's probably overrated saying that it ruins your swing coming out of the break. If guys were in the home run derby and struggled, either maybe they had an underlying injury or simply, there's fatigue because it's a long season.
Unfortunately, Jazz Chisholm was the odd guy out last night. Did not think when I heard that he was being added to the field that was, his thing, and it kind of turned out to be right. But you hate to see, for all the performances that we saw in the Derby last night, for Jazz to come up short the way he did.
Well, it's a fun thing to do. If he gets added, he gets added. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I don't make any judgments off of what you do in an exhibition home run derby. I mean, to me, that or the slam dunk contest or the 3-pointer, they're just they're just fun events within themselves. And if a guy wants to try it and he does well or doesn't do well, it doesn't make much difference to me.
Yeah, Thomas, we've talked about it ad nauseum. The Rockies are not very good. What does the rest of
breaking
the season
news
look like? Yeah, exactly. We like to do that here on Main Street Sports Today. But I mean, with that as the backdrop, you got to go out and play however many more games Colorado has between now and the end of the regular season. What is it you're trying to get accomplished? And is the front office trying to get the same thing done that the team in the dugout is trying to get done? I mean, I would feel like this has got to be an evaluatory period.
Well, there are probably some changes coming. They changed managers during the year. There are some things at the vice presidential level that have changed. But if you look at the Rockies, they are stripped down to a lot of very young players. In their bullpen, they have 3 guys who have completed more than 1 year of service time coming into this season. All around the park, there are younger guys. There have been some guys. Chase Dollander came up, University of Tennessee guy. He came up, went back down. There have been some high draft picks that have come up and struggled. And this is part of the reason why they are where they are. They don't really have those veterans because you have Chris Bryant, who's been injured. Ezekiel Tovar, who was the best shortstop in the National League last year, has barely played this year. So what's happening is these guys have a lot to play for because there are young guys who are getting their opportunity. There are more who are coming. They think that they are the future of the team. It's not like they're coming to work saying, oh, we're going to lose. They're coming to work saying, I get to play. I get a chance to improve. You look at the manager, Warren Schaefer. He was a AAA manager for a long time with this team, third base coach. He is trying to teach guys. In fact, when I listen to them and when I talk to them, it is almost like a developmental team. And that is the good thing and the problem with the Rockies. I visited their AA team in Hartford. That they were actually playing in Portland, Maine. And I was talking to the manager, Bobby Meacham, which you guys probably know from his long history in AAA. And Meacham looked at me when I sat down. He's like, 13 guys who were here in AA last year have played in the major leagues this year. And I'm looking at the roster right now, and I could easily see 5 or 6 more of these guys who are in AA right now, either finishing this year and then next year, maybe 8, 10 guys will make their major league debut. That is what's going on here. So with the Rockies, they're getting Ezekiel Tovar back after the break, but here's why I think if they set all-time loss records or whatever, here's why I think it would be a good thing. If they're able to get something for some of the better players they have right now, whether it's Austin Gomber in the last year of his contract as a pitcher, Herman Marquez, Ryan McMahon, not Ezekiel Tovar, but Tyro Estrada, the second baseman, maybe Mickey Moniak in the outfield. Any number of those guys, if you're able to get better for the future, and if you're able to make some sort of trade that gets you a veteran or two, then maybe you'll take a step back this year, although it's hard to imagine stepping back, but it may make you better for next year. It may make that process go a little bit faster.
What has Orlando Arcia brought?
I'll tell you the interesting thing about him, I would love to see him moved and go somewhere else, because what has happened, he embraced the utility role. I remember there was one, and it was made clear that, hey, this is a young team. Young guys are going to get a shot. I mean, the shortstop is Ryan Ritter, who was in AA last year, and he ends up being the shortstop because of Ezekiel Tovar's injury. But Arcia comes in, and he's not going to start at shortstop. But they move him around the infield. Before one game, they said Arcia is going to play first base. I saw him with a borrowed first baseman's mitt, and I go, when was the last time you played first base? He goes, I did it in one spring training game in my entire life. But he's embraced this role, and it may be his future in the major league. So if this could actually end up working out for him as a utility player.
And it feels like, he's been in a winning situation, obviously, with the Braves, with the Brewers before that, but it seems like he brings a lot of juice as well. And that maybe in that dugout can't be overstated either.
Well, what happened was when there were offers and several winning teams, I believe the Mets were one, a couple others, they offered him the opportunity to come there, but only on a minor league contract, and then go to the majors if needed. But he wanted to stay in the major leagues, and that's why he came here. I mean, he knew this team was not going to win, and evidently he knew that he was not going to play shortstop and get an opportunity to be a starting player. But if he can build his resume as a utility guy and then go somewhere else, and who knows, maybe he emerges and he finds the rhythm with the bat, and he's an everyday player somewhere on a winning team. He's always been a player on winning teams, but he came to this losing one because he wanted to stay in the major leagues. He just didn't feel like going to the minor leagues was going to benefit him.
There we go. Thomas Harding of MLB.com joining us here on Main Street Sports today. Thomas, as always, we appreciate you taking some time with us. And if you renegotiated your contract with MLB.com, I mean, again, covering this team can't be a whole lot of fun.
Well, yeah, it's weird, though, because and part of it is covering the Rockies. Like if I were covering, say, one of the bigger market teams, the first thing that would happen would be when I meet guys and they come in, I don't know them because they make a lot of trades. They pick up a lot of free agents. With the Rockies, you know the guys because you know they're coming through the system. There's a good chance they're going to be there. And with a team this young, now I've covered some bad Rockies teams where they had a lot of veterans on them, and that could be a tough scene because those guys are checking out, or maybe the trade deadline comes and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm stuck here. And it can be difficult. But with this team, you have so many young guys that are trying to make their own mark. Even some of the veteran types, or actually they have young veterans. I mean, around here, Mickey Moniak, who's 26, and Tyler Freeman, who's 26. They're veterans around here, okay? And these are guys who are still trying to establish their careers. So you actually, as a writer, you actually meet people that are that are enthusiastic about what they do. Yeah, they'd rather win more games, but if you look at it, they're trying to build their careers, and they're not coming to work moping every day because 29 other teams are watching them. And if they feel like these guys have given up, then they're not going to get the next job.
There you go. TH, again, as always, we appreciate it, man, and look forward to catching up with you again here soon.
Thank you guys for having me.
Thank you, Thomas.
All right. Let's take a break here on Top 5 Tuesday on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Come back, talk a little Braves. Stick around.
If you want the latest in weather conditions, be sure to tune in to our Busy Bee Plumbing Weather Report each weekday on Mornings on Main Street. Brought to you, of course, by Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating and Air Conditioning. We will keep you updated on the latest conditions outside, like severe weather, heat, snow, rain, and even hail.
Zion Christian Academy at zioneagles.org or 931-388-7531. You can schedule your appointment to visit their beautiful campus. Again, zioneagles.org or 931-7531 to schedule your visit today.
Champions!
2011, Tim Hudson struck out 7 over 7 innings and went 2 for 3 with a double and a run scored as the Atlanta Braves thumped visiting Washington 11. With the victory, the Braves improved to 55-38 on the season, but also claimed the 10,000th win in the history of the franchise, dating back to the 1876 Boston Red Caps. The Braves became the third Major League Baseball franchise to reach the 5-digit milestone, joining the Giants and Cubs. Martin Prado hit a solo home run for one of his 2 hits, and Freddie Freeman and Nate McLouth each had a couple of hits in the victory. That was this day in Braves history. Again, the All-Star Game visits Truist Park tonight. What time's that start? 7 o'clock start. It'll be Tariq Skubal for the Detroit Tigers and Paul Skeens for the Pittsburgh Pirates getting the start for the American and the National League respectively. And it'll be some good ball at Truist Park, which has not always been the case in 2025, unfortunately. So should be fun for those that manage to get out there for it. The draft finished up yesterday, the 20-round process that began with 3 rounds on Sunday and the rest yesterday, and it went a little different for Atlanta than has typically been the case. They took bats with 4 of their first 5 picks, including East Tennessee State shortstop Cody Miller. We'll have to pick Heather's brain on that one when we get her on tomorrow. Miller went in the 3rd round. They also took Alex Lodis from Florida State in the 2nd round. So again, a little heavier on bats than they typically go. They typically pick a lot of pitchers and then see who they're able. But I guess doing that for an extended period of time can really take a toll on your depth. So they went with 3 shortstops and a second baseman again in their first 5 picks. And the thing about the draft in Major League Baseball relative to other sports is a lot of these guys we're not going to see for 2-3 years. So
if you even see them at all,
if you see them at all, yeah. So trying to grade this, I just don't put a whole lot of stock in Major League Baseball draft grades. So
yeah, it is a crapshoot at best. Very similar, even more. It's a more advanced version, honestly, than what we see in the NHL. Right? I mean, you're drafting guys that, like I said, could be around your franchise for a while. You're hoping that they kind of turn into whatever grade they potentially were given and pan out as, the high end of their range, if you will. But more often than not, they may only last a couple of seasons and either get shipped along. Obviously, there's no shortage of draft picks that are on the move every year as part of deals and whatnot. But sometimes you see it too where a guy just doesn't pan out for whatever reason, doesn't end up in any level more than a couple of years. So it is a bit of a crapshoot. It is a bit of a dice roll. And yeah, there's draft trying to throw a grade on this. You got to wait. It feels like 5 years at best before you can really kind of get a feel for a class.
absolutely. Tennessee had 9 players picked, 4 in the first round, 8 in the first 3 rounds. As we talked again with Ben Kevin on Friday about what the draft looked like in Knoxville. Liam Doyle goes with the number 5 pick overall to the Cardinals. Gavin Keelan, Andrew Fisher, and Marcus Phillips, all went in the first round as well. Again, Doyle to the Cardinals at 5. Kylan Keelan to the Giants at number 13 overall. Andrew Fisher goes to the Brewers at number 20. And Mark Phillips to the Red Sox with the 33rd pick. So not really a shock. We knew that they had a lot of talent on that team, may have underachieved depending on who you ask. But 4 guys in the first round, 8 guys on Sunday. Another impressive performance in the draft for the University of Tennessee and Tony Vitello.
Yeah, strong effort yet again, and that is a good thing, but also a bad thing, right? You hate to see some of these guys go. You also kind of wonder, man, we had this much talent on a team, kind of like we saw with Duke men's basketball. It's like, man, they really didn't win it all. I mean, sometimes when you go to a draft, it kind of puts into perspective maybe some shortcomings there. But if you're Tennessee, you're also thinking, man, it'd be really nice to get some of these guys back. And Ben had told us as much, even some of their top prospects. Kind of a quote-unquote bad news. Good for them, obviously, but bad for Tennessee. They end up getting gobbled up too. So they're in good shape. And if nothing else, I mean, if you just glance back 7 or 8 years ago, we're not having this conversation, to say the least. Right. It's a sign of a healthy program.
Absolutely. Vanderbilt with 3 guys on Sunday. J.D. Thompson goes to the Brewers in the 2nd round. R.J. Austin to the Baltimore Orioles in round 3. Also, pitcher Cody Bowker goes to the Phillies in round 3. Yesterday, Cleveland pitcher Riley Nelson in the 5th round. The Diamondbacks take Sawyer Hawks in the 6th round. Levi Huseman goes to the Nationals in the 16th, and Jonathan Vestine to the Cardinals in the next to last round, the 19th round. So nice performance for the Commodores as well. Pretty well have gotten used to that from Tim Corbin and that bunch over there.
Same deal, right? I mean, the fact that you're still producing MLB quality type talent, developing, first of all, identifying, bringing those guys in and then developing them further. Yeah, that's another step in the right direction. Certainly not the way they wanted to end their season, but you can kind of look back and say, well, we had some great talent here, and now maybe, hopefully, try and continue that pipeline, continue that development, and we're having maybe this same discussion next year in terms of the draft picks you're putting out, but also a great postseason.
Hour number 1 of Top 5 Tuesday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, has wound down. Let's take a break. Let's come back for hour number 2 We'll open it up with Jeff Murphy from Group of Five Guys talking a little college football. Stick around. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50 plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy at zioneagles.org or 931-388-7531. You can schedule your appointment to visit their beautiful campus. Again, zioneagles.org or 931-7531 to schedule your visit today. Custom Stone Handlers supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with Riverstone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe the measure of any person or company is how you treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStoneHandlers.com.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Hour number two of Top 5 Tuesday starts right now here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. That's Wade Neely. I'm Maurice Patton. Joining us now from Group of Five Guys, former Middle Tennessee State quarterback, sporting the lid. I like it. Jeff Murphy joining us here. Jeff, good afternoon, man. Thanks for taking some time.
Hey, appreciate you having me on. Good to see you guys.
Yes, sir.
You as well, man. It's getting close, I guess. What's your take on the Blue Raiders in year two of the Derek Mason era?
I'm actually really high on the Blue Raiders this year, and mainly because this is probably the best schedule draw we've had in over a decade. Returning a lot of senior leadership, obviously Nick Vadiato at the quarterback position. Lose Amari Kelly to Michigan State last year, our top receiver. But I think this receiver room that we have right now, pieces we've got in the portal with some returning guys, might be the deepest room we've had in a long time. Obviously, the offensive defensive line's always the question mark for the Blue Raiders. It has been for the last several years. But I can say just after seeing them in a few different occasions, we're bigger than we've been up front on the offensive line, which is a good sign. Doesn't mean that's going to solve all the problems that we've had. But I think we're going to be more physical at the point of attack, so that should help the run game. And if the run game can be at least like remotely effective, then that's going to help Nick Vadiato get the ball to those great receivers on the outside. So I'm high for a couple of reasons, but honestly, mainly because of the way our schedule sets up.
Schedule sets up nice, and you also any quarterback or former quarterback likes to see the beef up front, I would imagine, no doubt, Jeff. But does Nick Vadiato officially fall into how is this guy still in school territory? Because he has been such a great standout for MTSU. And if you're an opponent, he falls in that category. But if you're a guy that obviously he's QB in your team, it feels like you have an absolute ace in the hole right now.
Absolutely. I mean, you're talking about one of the top guys in conference and honestly has been one of the most successful quarterbacks in Conference USA without much help up front the last few years, to be honest. So if we can get this guy, protect him a little bit, and your best friend is a run game, and we just has not been able to run the ball the last couple of years. The O-line got injured early last year, and that's what I love about this schedule is you open up with Austin Peay at home. then you get a very manageable. I'm not going to say we're going to go up to Wisconsin and win, but it's not like where in years past we've had Alabama and Michigan in the same year, or just, two just physically different teams where you're going to get beat up before you even get in a conference. So you go up and play Wisconsin, then you get Nevada on the road, who's a better team, but that's a very winnable game for us. And then we get Marshall back at home for homecoming, and Marshall literally lost everybody. They lost their coaches, all their top players from a year ago, all went to Southern Miss. So Marshall's going to be good. We interviewed Tony Gibson a few months ago. I think he's going to be physical at the point of attack, but you're just replacing so much there. So, and then you get into conference, and then you play, the two newcomers in Missouri State and Delaware, which I think they're going to be good programs, but usually you see a 1 or 2 year, adjustment period there. You have Kennesaw State.
Unless you're James Madison.
Well, that's the special case. And when we scheduled them a few years ago, when Missouri dropped out on us, I was like, this is not good. This is not a good situation. It was like their home opener going up to the next level, and they just had everything to play for that year. But yeah, and then we avoid Liberty and La Tech, who I think are going to be the two, pretty good teams in the conference. So I think our schedule is just, like I said, it sets up really nice for us.
Jeff, talk a little bit more about that run game, man, because folks who have been around MTSU football for an extended period of time just feel like running the football is what we do. And that has not been the case, and it's been conspicuous in its absence over the last few years.
Yeah, I mean, it's so important to an offense. You can't be one-dimensional, whether you can just run or you can just throw it. You got to be able to do both and do both effectively. And we just, our offensive line has struggled the last couple of years. We've had a lot of injuries as well. So coming into Derek Mason's second year, I'm excited, like I said, to see the size and beef up front. If we can get 5 guys that can mesh together and really get a push at the point of attack, because there was points last year where you're getting a 5-man box. It's our 5 linemen versus 5 guys in the box, and we couldn't run the ball. If you can't run the ball against a 5-man box, you have everybody else that can just sit back and play coverage. And I don't care how good your receivers are or Nick Vadiato is, it's damn near impossible. And then they were still getting pressure with only rushing 4 guys. So I think the second year, with Mason and them coming in a little bit late last year, had to replace a whole lot of numbers on both sides of the ball and a lot, on the offensive defensive line. So I think the second year in this program, getting kind of their pieces in there, I think it's going to make all the difference in the world. And Ja'Kale Middlebrook, I mean, this kid's a stud now. He can take it to the house. He's a smaller back, but you just give him an inch of space. He can make guys miss. He can take the distance. And then we got some other guys behind him, and Ricky Hunt, and then I'm blanking on the freshman's man's name from Riverdale. But he's a good player too, and I think he's going to see with DJ, I believe his name is. We're going to see him, I think, early on in the season to see what he can do.
Sprint champ as well.
Absolutely. We got some guys that can go.
Jeff Murphy from Group of 5 Guys joining us here on Main Street Sports today. Jeff, you talked about that receiver room, and again, losing Omari Kelly to Michigan State, certainly not a great thing, but maybe you make up for that in some numbers, to your point from a minute ago.
Yeah, and obviously losing him hurts. He's one of the best receivers in the conference, but you get Miles Butler back, who was very successful last year. I think he's just going to make a big jump. He's not, he's a good, strong kid with great hands, run great routes. He's not going to take the top off by any means, but I think he's going to lead this group. And then you get Amarion Walker coming over from Michigan, 6'3". Now this kid can run. He can fly. He's going to be the guy, I think, that's going to take the vertical routes, push the defense back. And then you get Cameron Lacey, who's coming back again, real shifty. He can play inside, outside, very great receiver. And then we got some other guys that we've got in the portal too, a couple of JUCO kids that I'm excited about. Need some work, kind of raw talents, but if they can figure it out, I mean, Nick's going to have a lot of weapons to play with.
You mentioned Walker too. I mean, that's a two-way type player, Jeff, and it's a guy that came into Michigan with a just as much of a pedigree in terms of his track abilities. He was a triple jump phenom. To me, whatever he produces is whatever he produces, but just from a kind of a brand recognition standpoint and what he's kind of maybe going to bring to the table, you kind of got to be excited about that, I would imagine.
Absolutely. I mean, I don't really get too much into the stars, and it's great that he went to Michigan, but obviously that's a tough room to really get on the field. But yeah, I mean, just look at the guy's measurables right off the bat. When you got a guy that can run as fast as he can at 6'3", I mean, you got to respect the vertical threat. And that's what I think he's going to bring to the table. And then he just opens up everything else underneath for everybody else and the run game. So if you don't have a run game and you don't have somebody that can go vertical, everyone's literally just sitting like 20 yards and in, just keeping everything in front. They're not worried about anything going deep. So excited to see the speed. It looks like on both sides of the ball, we've really tried to get bigger, longer, and faster. Now, hopefully that all pays off. That's my old Oakland Raider, what they tried to do for years, and kind of excited to see it with the Blue Raiders.
Jeff, Derek Mason coming in here as a defensive first guy, had to be a little disappointed with the way that unit performed last year. How have they addressed some of their shortcomings?
Yeah, I mean, I think really getting size up front and on the back end is what defensive coordinator Brian Stewart wants. He wants to bring pressure and he wants to play man coverage on the back end. In order to do that, you got to have guys that can run. And then it just seems like, a lot of the corners are a lot taller than we've normally seen for Blue Raiders. So they addressed that in the portal. Now, whether those big guys can flip their hips and run, if you're going to play man coverage, which you have to be able to do, time will tell. We'll be able to see that early in the season because they'll get tested pretty quick. But it seems like from a size and length standpoint on defense, that's what they went out and got. Hopefully it transitioned because last year they struggled. I mean, Western Kentucky came in, their starter got hurt, their backup, who was a great player now, but he threw it all over. I mean, we just struggled covering receivers. So it seems like they've addressed that in the portal. But again, with all these teams in Conference USA, there's so many new guys, so many guys from the portal, and not a ton of tape and stats on these guys. So it's kind of like you got to wait and see, and hopefully these guys work out.
It just felt like watching MTSU, particularly from a defensive standpoint last year. They struggled to get off the field. Third downs were not good for that unit. And I don't know necessarily how you improve on that other than, as Chip Walters likes to say, be better on first and second down.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you can get teams into third and long, third and medium situations, as opposed to 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3, that makes all the difference in the world. And then, on the flip side, I mean, your offense helps defense, defense helps offense. So when you go 3 and out and now your defense back on the field because you can't run the ball, and then you get in a 3rd and long situation on offense, those guys don't get a rest. It's not like we're, all teams in the group of 5 struggle with depth at times. So if your defense is constantly out there, I mean, they're constantly getting gassed as well. It's just like this snowball effect that starts to happen throughout the game. So I think both sides of the ball will help each other as far as defense getting more of a rest. But like you said, you got to be effective on first and second down to get those guys in 3rd and long, because then as an offensive coordinator standpoint, it just cuts your playbook down. There's only so many things you can do. If the defense can pin their ears back and rush with 4, now you can play 7 in coverage. It makes it a whole lot easier to guard the pass as opposed to 3rd and 2. You literally have the entire playbook wide open.
Jeff, you kind of go through some things with MTSU, and obviously we're all alums and cheer for the Blue Raiders die hard here. But if those things kind of all seemingly the dots start connecting a little bit, what is the ceiling in your mind maybe for this team this year?
I mean, truthfully, the ceiling. I mean, obviously that's a lot to need to go right for us, right? But that's all things that I think are doable. And then the thing that, again, that helps us is the way our schedule sets up. So if you have an O-line that can block and be effective in the run game, if your defense in the back end can hold up, all those things can happen. We know Nick's smart. He's athletic. He can run around. He protects the ball very well. There's no reason why the Blue Raiders can't if everything works out, make the conference championship game. Again, you avoid Liberty, who, in my opinion, it's Liberty and Western's conference really to lose, in my opinion. So you avoid Liberty, you get Western Kentucky, finally 100 miles of hate towards the end of the season and not first or second conference game, which makes a big difference. And then you avoid La Tech as well, and I think they're going to be a better team. So you avoid really the 1 and probably like 3 or 4 team on your schedule. So, I mean, there's no reason why you can't start the season off 3-1, 4-1 potentially, and then roll in the conference. And, your first conference opponents are, let me see here if I got it right in front of me. You got Kennesaw, Missouri, and Delaware.
Not a bad way to start, right?
Exactly. As opposed to, when we beat Miami in Miami a few years ago, we started off with UTSA, #1 in our conference, Western Kentucky, #2 in our conference. So just, I don't know who did the schedule this year, but thank you.
We need to send them a card in the mail. Hey, and real quick, Jeff, while we're talking schedule, and you mentioned the non-con earlier, obviously a chance to get off on a right foot versus Austin Peay. The Wisconsin game will get a lot of attention, but kind of as a football nut, that game against Nevada, I don't really know what happens or how that plays out, but that is one, even if I wasn't a Blue Raider fan, I feel like I'm going to be dialed in for. That just seems like it could be a really interesting game.
No, it really is. I mean, the travel's tough. You got to go up to Reno, right? So that's a far travel for your kids, but they lost their best player was their quarterback in Brandon Lewis. He goes to Memphis. So I'm not sure yet who they're going to return in that spot, but that kid was dynamic. So that plays in the Blue Raiders' favor as far as quarterbacks go. But yeah, it's a very interesting matchup. They're a program that's on the rise. They had a much better year last year. So excited to see that matchup. And then I love every time that Middle gets to play Marshall. We get to play Marshall at home. It's always a good game. And for some reason, I don't know why at home, we've just seemed to kind of have their number.
We would take that trend continuing. Jeff Murphy of Group of Five Guys joining us here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Again, former quarterback at MTSU from 2010 to 2012. News came out yesterday, Jeff, one of your former teammates will be going into the MTSU Athletics Hall of Fame this fall, Kevin Byard. You, again, got to watch him at work. What are your thoughts on that? Other than it's a long time coming since they've already retired his number.
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, it's a no-brainer, right? I mean, first ballot Hall of Famer. I think he went in with ease, and he deserves it. I mean, he's been such a great ambassador for MTSU, and then you just look at not only his college career, but his pro career. And he's been, outstanding citizen for, the Blue Raiders, alumni, supports the program, gives back to the program. So super happy for KB, deserves it. And hopefully maybe when we have that ceremony, I'll get to catch up with him and say hello.
There you go. You talked a little bit about what you think Conference USA looks like, and with Middle being able to avoid Liberty and La Tech. Expand that out a little bit more. What are your thoughts regarding the Group of Five as a whole heading into this 25 season?
Yeah, obviously last year the representative for the playoff was Boise State. I got to go to that Boise State Penn State game at the Fiesta Bowl, and man, it was such a great experience. And getting to be on the field, you always hear this notion that the Group of Five doesn't belong. Let me tell you, they went toe to toe with one of the best. Boise State did one of the best defenses in the country, and if it wasn't for a couple missed field goals, they're in that game late with all the momentum. So I think, again, Boise State's going to be up there. They return a ton of guys. Their starting quarterback, obviously they lose Heisman candidate Ashton Ginty, but let me tell you, they reloaded in the backfield again. Sire Gaines, that's a name you're going to have to keep an eye out for. They're good on the outside. Their defense is going to be loaded. Spencer Danielson's done a great job. I think James Madison's going to be one of the top teams in the Group of Five coming out of the Sun Belt. Again, returning a lot of firepower on both sides of the ball. And then I think Memphis's schedule sets up. They get the quarterback I mentioned from Nevada coming over. He's a dynamic player, dual threat type of kid. If he can get in that system and they can get rolling, there's no reason why they, if they go, win the American with 1 or 2 losses. I mean, that's what it's going to come down to, them and probably Boise State or James Madison, in my opinion. But you never know. It's college football. Anything can happen.
Yeah, Jeff, I was going to ask you, we obviously got captivated by Army last year, and in a service academy environment, it feels like every 4th or 5th year, they really kind of put all their eggs in one basket. What do they look like coming into this season?
Yeah, Army lost a lot coming off that championship game. Air Force is kind of rebuilding. They had a down year last year, but let me tell you, Navy returns all the firepower pretty much they had a year ago. So I think Navy's going to be the service academy to watch. Okay. I think they got, a great schedule set up in the American. But when it comes to the Commander-in-Chief's trophy, that's anybody's game. Those games, you can throw all the stats, everything they've done the entire season out the window. As we saw last year, Army looked like they were going to run away with it. They won the American, and then Navy beats them in the last game of the year.
Tulane coming into this season, and then teams like UNLV and obviously Memphis. What are your chances for them, or how do you break them down this year?
Yeah, Tulane, obviously their starting quarterback freshman last year, Darian Mensah, goes to Duke. So they're trying to refill that position right now. And I'm not sure if they've quite found the guy. They're going to be, John Summerall does a great job. They're going to have athletes. They're going to be very good defensively. But I think there's a lot of question marks on offense, losing the quarterback and losing your running back, plus your top receivers. I'm sure they've reloaded in the portal. I haven't quite done a deep dive on them. I think Memphis is going to be really good. They, outside of probably Liberty, Boise State, I think Memphis with a huge donation from FedEx probably is going to have the most money to spend in rev share. And I think that's going to play a big role moving forward. And then UNLV with the new coach, again, there's so many new coaches this year and so many new players in the transfer portal. It's really hard to kind of like peg these guys down. So you're trying to do your best analysis with the information you have. But UNLV's a bit of a question mark. I don't know what to expect with them and Dan Mullen coming in.
You mentioned Summerall down at Tulane. Are you surprised he's back?
No, he was at Tulane before. He's been a good friend of the show. We've had him on a bunch. He loves it down there. I think there's probably one job in the country that he'll probably leave Tulane unless he just gets a crazy amount of money to go somewhere else. But he's got a great situation down there. The American's a really tough conference. And if you want to talk about making the college football playoff, you can do that at Tulane. You run the table in the American, have a 1 or 2 loss team, you're going to be the playoff rep. And that's what he wants to get to. But I think at some point, if Kentucky comes calling, his alma mater, unfortunately, I think that'd be the job that he could potentially leave for and go up there.
Okay. You mentioned Marshall and the exodus up there, starting with Charles Huff, who went to Southern Miss, and everybody followed him. What are you looking for out of the Golden Eagles out of the Sun Belt this time around?
Our Sun Belt preview is the last one we'll do, so I haven't deep dove on them either, but I can say this, they're going to be loaded. This is going to be the best Southern Miss team top to bottom they've had, because they literally took, I think, every player, if that was worth something, off that roster from Marshall to Southern Miss. So I'm excited for them, though. That's a program that has a lot of history, and they've been in a rough spot for a long time. So if they can get that thing rolling, Huff's a great coach. I think he wanted to go there. And from what I understand, they have a pretty big donor base as well. So I think they can do some damage in this rev share space moving forward.
Jeff Murphy, group of 5 guys joining us here on Main Street Sports today on this Top 5 Tuesday. Jeff, we appreciate your time, man, and always great insight. Look forward to catching up with you again soon.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on, guys. Love the show. Keep up the great work.
Thank you,
We
Jeff.
appreciate it. Let's take a break here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we come back, we'll jump into the grab bag, and in our final segment, it's Top 5 Tuesday. Wade and I will bring you, we'll bring you our top 5 Tom Petty songs, and we're going to tell you why here in a bit. Stick around.
Deep in a forest at Nashville Zoo, new creatures here for you to view. Phantoms graced in black and white swing high in trees of dappled light. In rocky crags, tall and steep, small antelopes with nimble feet. A wise old man with beard of white, a sentry perched on stony height. Amidst it all, a hunter lies, with coat of gold and steely eyes. A new adventure just for you. Leopard Forest at Nashville Zoo. Open now.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50-plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily, as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Tuesday continues here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. That's Wade Neely. I'm Maurice Patton. Again, in our final segment, we'll be giving you our top 5 Tom Petty songs. Kind of a nod to Gainesville, Florida, as the SEC football media days continue today down in Atlanta. Today you had Georgia, Auburn, Tennessee, and Texas coaches and players available to the media down at the College Football Hall of Fame. Tomorrow, you've got Kalen DeBoer from Alabama, Jeff Lebby and Mississippi State, Florida's Billy Napier, and Oklahoma and Brent Venables will be in the house. So looking forward to keeping up with that. Again, college football right around the corner, a lot to talk about, some of it perfectly grounded, some not at all. You had a couple of reports. Somebody asked Ole Miss coach Lane Kiffin about it. Greg McElroy, a college football analyst, spoke to Nick Saban possibly making a return to coaching. No idea where, NFL, college football, who knows? But there's conjecture out there that after 1 year out of the game, not on the sidelines, he might be getting the itch. Wade, what do you think? How realistic do you think that is, especially with the comments and the concerns that he voiced leaving the University of Alabama and since he's left?
I'm not necessarily buying this. Like you said, we are smack dab in the middle of silly season. Everybody needs something to talk about, some purely fabricated. But to me, it feels like Saban has kind of landed about as safe and as cushy as you could. Everybody obviously has that itch deep down. So I suppose there is a small chance. You know, we've seen coaches across a number of different sports return when they kind of have hung it up for good. But I would put me in the camp of shocked if that were to happen, but even more so, it doesn't feel quite like Saban's MO to have any sort of build-up or fanfare. He's not leaking something out, and he doesn't need that type of help, right? I mean, it feels like if the right job comes open, or if it's not even open, if Saban were to snap his fingers and say, I wanted to be the head coach at LSU, Brian Kelly may not even know that just yet, but he wouldn't know it until Saban was announced 24 hours after his own departure. So I'm not buying a ton on this. It's a fun, obviously, topic. Even the guys down in Atlanta are scrounging for kind of content during media days. And it also feels like Saban, like I said, has landed in such a good spot. I feel like we're more likely to see him in some sort of college football ambassador, sports czar, even political. I could see him getting into any of those three avenues a little more than I kind of could the coaching aspect at this time.
73-year-old Nick Saban. And again, I mean, I'm not trying to kick on anybody's age or anything like that, but I mean, what's left for this guy to do in the realm of college football, in the realm of coaching football, whether it be college or NFL? I mean, maybe he's got an itch to scratch at the NFL level. Miami didn't go so well, but wherever he goes, it's not going to be for very long. And why do you want that headache?
Well, I mean, let's think about it from a number of different viewpoints, right? I mean, if you're a somewhat downtrodden college football program, you get instant credibility, you get instant notoriety, and you get instant success in theory. You know, if you're an NFL franchise, I mean, we got Pete chewing gum on the sidelines of Vegas this fall at 73 years of age, too. It'd be kind of cool to see Saban and Carroll go toe-to-toe one time on the sidelines yet again. But, yeah, it feels like if it is going to be – but then you get into the question, would Saban, take a job at a Tulane? Would he take a job, or is he holding out, for another kind of blue blood program? The game has kind of changed, and, seemingly he kind of low-key embraced the NIL era a little more than maybe perhaps some of his counterparts. Tom Izzo obviously being kind of a super vocal critic if in terms of peers, I guess, if you will. So I don't know. Saban was kind of a part of the original Bagman crew, and maybe this is a new era that he doesn't necessarily want to get in. But if you are a program that's looking, you would certainly, I feel like, at least want to have him turn you down, unless you're one of the absolute blue bloods. And you know the folks in Tuscaloosa would take him back tomorrow.
Oh, I don't think there's any doubt that he would have plenty of opportunities if he decided he wanted to. I just don't know why he would make that decision. Clearly, the guy can coach. I don't think there's any question about that. I felt like there was more. The climate of college football at this point felt like that was something that he no longer wanted to deal with, and that hasn't changed since he left. So I don't know. I just don't think I don't see it as being very realistic, but who am I and what do I know?
Yeah, I chalk this up to pretty much fodder, radio fodder at its surface level. But, I mean, let's be honest, too. I mean, there's something about that coaching in general, kind of we always see it. But, I mean, if you're an elite professional, really kind of regardless of what your industry is, you're always going to have that itch, and you're always going to kind of want to be in the action. So, I don't know, maybe there is a little something to it. I know it would be met kind of universally. It would generate headlines out the wazoo no matter what program it was. But I kind of initially chalked this up to, a July 15th conversation more than a September 15th conversation.
You know what? I feel like I would sincerely hate to be the athletic media relations person at whatever school Saban came back to, because your job just got harder by, exponentially harder. So good luck. Barrett Sallee, who works for 680 Fan down in Atlanta, put together a list ahead of SEC Football Media Days on his Twitter account at Barrett Sallee. SEC coaches ranked by who would win a fight. And I don't know if this had anything to do with Clark Lee being on hand at UFC on Saturday night or where this germinated, but it came across my timeline. And as I looked at it, it's certainly fascinating. I think, if you can read this, Brent Venables at Oklahoma is at the top of his list, followed by Clark Lee. Steve Sarkisian at Texas, Georgia's Kirby Smart, Billy Napier from Florida, Shane Beamer at South Carolina, Mississippi State's Jeff Lebby, Kalen DeBoer at Alabama is number 8. Mark Stoops, Lane Kiffin, round out your top 10. 11 through 16, you've got Hugh Freeze, Mike Elko, Sam Pittman, Brian Kelly, Josh Heupel, and Eli Drinkwitz at number 16. As I look at this list, Wade, I think the person in the position that I have the least issue with is Eli Drinkwitz at 16. I think that's inarguable. I think any of the rest of this could go in any direction, up or down, probably.
Drinkwitz at 42, Sam Pittman long in the tooth. Not the youthful exuberance for Eli's not a factor for you, it sounds like.
It doesn't, just because of his stature and everything else. I'm not really impressed with that hypothetical there. Sam Pittman, I think, might be a little underrated there. I mean, he's an older guy, but you got that old man strength going, and sometimes you ain't got to get but one punch in.
Yeah, I was going to say, if he can get your hands on you, you are right. Eli probably would have to run as many circles as he could and tire him out. I'm with you there, kind of following that logic, because, I would have him a little higher on this list as well. I mean, realistically, if I were to redo this list, it probably would just be more along the lines of, stature. Can I get my hands on you? Feels like Shane Beamer a little low. We saw how fired up he got during the bowl game last year, ready to come across the sideline. So, I mean, he's got that crazy in him, as does Napier a little bit. Napier's always on the hot seat and coaching for his job, so he's probably got a little fuse shorter than most, I would imagine, in this situation. So
I'm not seeing Sarkisian. I'm not seeing Sarkisian at 3. What am I missing there?
I mean, he's a big dude.
Is he?
Seems big.
Maybe
I shook his hand.
I never got that feel for him from seeing him on TV, and I don't know that I can necessarily find dimensions for him, but that one just kind of struck me as interesting. I really feel like Clark Lee is maybe a little underrated even at 2. I think he would be my favorite.
Well, it's like the top comment on this tweet says is Brent Venables motivated. If he's motivated, maybe he does hold serve. If he's not, then Clark Lee's maybe got a shot. But yeah, Clark Lee, he's built for the kind of these conditions here, and rolling up the sleeves feels like he could do some damage.
Yeah, coming out of high school, Sarkisian was 6 foot 165. Now, obviously, I'm sure he's grown since then, but I'm not sure how much up he's grown. So, just for what that's worth, I'm just kind of fascinated by this, and maybe it's childishly so, but I feel like I would go Clark Lee and a former SEC safety in Kirby Smart at 1 and 2. And then I kind of think the line forms behind those two guys. So
probably not bad. And like you said, it shows the power of social media. All Barrett has to do is just make up a list and poof, we got what I'm looking at his tweet now, 445,000 views. So
nearly 500,000 views on
just
this.
Just light a match and walk away.
There you Yeah, that's pretty good stuff. Good stuff for Barrett. He's a fascinating follow there.
He's had no shortage of experience in the realm of content farming through his various stops over the years, so he knows what he's doing a little bit. Well played by him.
Absolutely. High school football news out of Florida, and this is interesting. Miami Northwestern graduate Teddy Bridgewater, in his first year returning to the helm of his alma mater, led them to the Class 3A state championship. His first year might be his only year because he's been suspended for the upcoming season by the school for providing impermissible inducements or impermissible benefits, I guess, including Uber rides, meals, et cetera, to his players. And it's a tough situation, man, because I mean, obviously he's dealing with kids that may not be or may not have the most resources to deal with, but at the same time, you're providing something for them that other programs can't necessarily provide for their kids that you're having to compete with. So there is a obvious backlash to his being suspended, and understandably so. But at the same time, he violated rules. I mean, I don't want to sound like a hard ass necessarily, but again, I just think you have to look at this at a lens beyond Miami Northwestern and look at, whoever they're playing. It's maybe an unfair advantage that he's providing that other schools can't provide for their kids. Again, transportation, meals, and recovery related costs for his players last season, during which they, won a Class 3A state title.
Yeah, I mean, this is my immediate thought was this is the part of being a high school football coach they kind of don't tell you about, especially at a public school, which according to U.S. News and World Report, 99% of the school is kind of economically at a disadvantage. So you can see the kind of bleeding heart aspect of this. But also to your point, I mean, the rules kind of are the rules. And if you're competing. If you're using TSSAA, mantra, so to speak, I mean, you're in a Division I realm where everybody's kind of supposed to be treated equally and fairly. There's a whole different realm for you to kind of maybe contribute those advantages that you may have, but it sounds like you're not in that realm. And then the other part was I'm thinking, man, if this does go south, how quickly is Teddy calling up the Dan Campbell in the line saying, hey, I was with you guys a little bit last year. Can I come back?
It felt like he left a little soon anyway, but he obviously he had a heart for the high school football program that he had played in and went down there and did really well. And you hate to see it. I mean, you hate to see him leave the way he has left. Apparently he solicited donations this time around to kind of offset some of that rather than, paying it out of his own pocket. But I don't know. I don't know that it matters where the money comes from. I'm not sure. There's a lot here. But Teddy Bridgewater has been suspended, and again, it was by the school. They self-reported the concerns to the Florida High School Athletic Association. It'll be interesting to see where they go with it. But 32-year-old Teddy Bridgewater, yeah, I mean, he might him at the NFL level. Certainly will bear watching, especially.
Hey, and if it's like Giles County and Marshall County over the years, look over at Miami Norland High School, their biggest rival. There might be some folks that have suddenly taken an interest in what's been going on at Miami Northwestern. Just saying.
Just saying. You're not saying, you're just saying. I get it. We talked again with Joe Sullivan of Main Street Media about some local basketball yesterday, and one of the things that we talked about was Tennessee State and Penny Collins leaving to join the staff of the Memphis Grizzlies. Eric Buggs, a former assistant at UT Martin who had joined the staff at TSU under Penny, had been named interim coach of the Tigers in Collins's. Well, John Rothstein of CBS Sports tweeted earlier today, Memphis assistant Nolan Smith is finalizing a deal to be the next head coach at Tennessee State. Nothing is officially done, but the two sides are working toward an agreement. Now, Nolan Smith, again, has been at Memphis with Penny Hardaway. Prior to that, he was on the staff at Louisville for the ill-fated reign of Kenny Payne up there. But he began his coaching career as an assistant at his alma mater, Duke. So, I mean, you're talking about a guy who's fairly well connected in the college football circles and feels like it would be a good get for Tennessee State if this actually materializes. But on July 15th, is it a good get?
To me, it seems like a home run that you could really, if you're going to go the route of hiring someone in earnesty at this date, like you said, this seems like a home run hire, out of the park, grand slam type levels to me. The alternative is you kind of look around the landscape and maybe cover your eyes and just grab somebody or whoever you can get. But yeah, there's a lot to be said for kind of keeping Bugs in there at the interim level like we discussed yesterday. But if you can maybe do this to me seems like about as smash of a hire as you could make potentially at this point. And with Rothstein tweeting it out, that's about as seemingly close to a done deal as it could get. So if that does pan out for TSU, then major props to them because it feels like as long as he is around, he brings some extra instant credibility for your program.
It really feels like a solid move to your point. And following up on Budgie Barlow as football coach following Eddie George's departure earlier this year to take over the program up at Bowling Green in the MAC. Mickey Allen getting it done over there if this plays itself out the way John Rothstein seems to think. So we'll be keeping an eye on that. Yeah, you're right. I mean, with his background, feels like that'd be a hell of a hire.
Yeah, all things considered, this feels like a home run and then some. If it pans out, if it doesn't pan out, like I said, to me personally, your best bet is to keep Bugs kind of locked in, keep the recruiting class, and keep the roster intact, if nothing else, and then maybe open it up for next year. But if it plays out this way, it feels like a smash to me.
It really does. Yeah. So we'll be monitoring that, obviously. Titans aren't back on the field yet, but already there is concern about the second round pick Femi Oladejo, Oladejo, the edge rusher out of UCLA, because he is yet to sign with the Titans, and he's among 29 second round picks from this past year's NFL draft who have yet to sign, and most of the issue with their signing or lack of appears to be receiver Jaden Higgins, who signed a fully guaranteed 4-year deal with the Houston Texans, and now everybody else is looking for that same type guarantee. And other clubs have been hesitant to give those. The Texans and the Cleveland Browns signed their linebacker Carson Swessinger to a fully guaranteed deal, second round pick. The other 30 see that, and it's like, hey, he got that. I want that too. And these other 30 teams are saying those teams are stupid. So, but the upshot of this is Oladejo may or may not be in camp when they resume. And as a rookie edge rusher, he probably needs to be to really be able to contribute the way they would like a second round pick to contribute.
Yeah, kind of a tricky spot, right? And man, it almost feels like the NFL should maybe collude and get together and make sure that these type of deals don't give out. But so much for that, because the Browns and the Texans leave it to two of the more interesting franchises in the league to kind of dole those out. Lad McConkey, he didn't even get. I mean, think about as much of a pedigree as he had coming into the league, and think about what we saw from him last year. He didn't even get a full guarantee last year as a second round, going 34th overall. So interesting spot. And now kind of this chess game kind of develops amongst, front office, agents, players, and players reps, obviously. So kind of going to be fascinating to see how it pays out. And a second round pick, we're talking about, somebody that you're banking on being a big contributor. And right. You're kind of in a weird spot.
Yeah, and when you're 3-14, you can't really afford to be in a weird spot. But 6'3", 260 edge rusher would sure look good. Hopefully they can get things figured out and get Mr. Oladejo into camp in time for him to be a factor as they had hoped. WNBA's got their All-Star game coming up this weekend in Indianapolis. Candace Parker probably next in fan base's crosshairs, making a statement during her appearance with Complex Sports yesterday, calls her the fourth best player in the WNBA, behind Asia Wilson, Nafisa Collier, and Brianna Stewart. I guess that makes her the best guard, but she ranks Caitlin Clark, Kelsey Plum, and Sabrina Ionescu as on the same tier with Clark. Again, I'm not necessarily as well versed in WNBA as I'd like to be for this conversation, but to say that Caitlin Clark is the fourth best player in the league seems like a stretch to me in her second year.
Or does it?
Yeah, I mean, and again, now I'm not going to argue with Candace Parker, but the fourth best player and one of the three best guards, again, with Plum and Ionescu So it's I've not ranked them. I don't know. And maybe I'm speaking out of ignorance here when I do, but that just seems a little high to me. Thoughts?
I mean, my thoughts are I've not compiled my top to bottom WNBA player rankings. And,
right.
Spoiler, I will not be. That's not my space to do that. And addition there, no one cares. Kind of like this. I mean, this is, like I said, a classic like the match, walk away. She was asked the question, though, gave it some thought, and it is just another example in the Caitlin Clark debate, which rages on in social media circles as we speak right now. They're arguing about something else about Caitlin Clark. If you just pull up your social media app of choice, and you can hop in the debate at any time, just like anybody else in the world. So interesting. I mean, and she presumably gave this a pretty good thought. Can't argue with the logic with Asia Wilson and Fee being up there in the S tier. Certainly with Ionescu being in that mix as well. Clark being right there. I mean, that's about, if you're a Clark fan and have issue with that, the only thing left for her to do really in this regard is to go out and kind of win some championships. And it sounds like Candace kind of made that provision in her statement there. And then if you mention one, you have to mention the other, obviously, per contractual agreement these days on social media. Angel Reese listed in the C tier. So props to Candace for kind of putting things out there and, just tossing it up in there and just see what you get back. So, like I said, the debate rages on, and wait about another 3 or 4 days and we'll have a new debate on our hands.
Again, I will say that from a credibility standpoint, you got to go pretty far to beat Candace. So can't necessarily argue with it.
It's not an egg on social media, egg avatar that we're talking about here. We're talking about one of the GOATs.
No. Just had her jersey retired by one team, getting ready to have it retired by another. So she's got she's got a little weight in that world. We are going to skip our last break. We are going to our final segment, Top 5 Tuesday, here on Main Street Sports Today. And again, with it being SEC Football Media Days down in Atlanta, figured what better way to tip the cap to that than, and here's the deal. I was channel surfing a couple of weeks ago, late one night, came across a Tom Petty concert and kind of stuck on it and didn't realize how many of the songs that I managed to hear were songs that I was immediately familiar with and knew from my younger days. But it was just kind of cool to listen to it and see those back to back in one place like that. I'm not a huge Tom Petty fan, but didn't not listen when he came on the radio or again on this concert a few weeks back. So that was kind of what germinated. But with that said, Wade, I know that you might be a little chronologically impeded here, but I know that you are a music fan, so I figured this would be okay. So the floor is yours.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that, and I mean Tom Petty. Well, I will go obviously with the one that gets us going here. So much so that it is now finally included. It wasn't included in last year's game. But if you play college football 26, you will hear "I Won't Back Down." So kind of in the theme of the top 5 here, that's got to be my number 1 selection. If you load it up and you pick the Florida, if you go to the Swamp there, you can hear Tom Petty. It is included this season.
That's cool. So one more reason to do this. That's your number 1. My number 1, I'm going to go with You Wrecked Me. And I think for football, that's probably not a bad pick either. So, yeah. Number 2, sir?
Number 2 for me, this is my personal favorite, so I'll pick this one. But Running Down a Dream is about as good as we get. I mean, you turn that on. Give me a long road trip. Give me a cross-country road trip. That's going to be on almost every playlist imaginable. And when it comes on, You're gonna hit the pedal a little harder. You're gonna get going. Give me "Running Down a Dream" for my number 2 there. Somewhere outside a rest stop in Oklahoma, I could really put some damage on the car there.
Where it's long and straight and flat. Yeah. Good luck with that. Give me "Free Falling" at number 2. Just kind of catchy, sticks in your head, kind of that earworm kind of thing. I like it. "Free Falling." Number 3, Wade.
Number 3, wife would probably kill me if I didn't have "American Girl" on the list. It's not necessarily my favorite all-time Tom Petty track, but "American Girl," when you hear, I mean, when that one comes on, you're not really skipping it. There's not a ton of Tom Petty skips necessarily, but it's not my personal cup of tea. But it is catchy and kind of one of his gold standards. So I'll go "American Girl" number 3 on the list.
Okay. At number 3, I'm gonna go with "Breakdown." Go ahead and give it to me, girl. Yeah. Again, so many of his songs, no skips, like you said, but it's just really catchy. Stays with you. Give me "Breakdown" at number 3. Number 4.
Number 4, later in the catalog, but "Won't Back Down." Obviously, another kind of classic. Came out in '89, lead single on "Full Moon Fever," and so that's another one of my personal faves, and kind of one that if I'm on Spotify, I'm a big Spotify. I'll search for a song and then just let it sort out the playlist for me. But that's one that I probably would queue up in the search myself. I'll listen to it if it comes on any other sort of playlist, but that's one that I'm usually hunting. So give me "I Won't Back Down" up next on the list.
Okay. Number 4, I'm going to go with "Mary Jane's Last Dance." Probably one of his later hits, but again, just catchy, stays with you. I like it. Give me that. "Mary Jane's Last Dance."
I mean, that's kind of, that's depending on our list, that's number 1 for a lot of folks. That just kind of the seminal song. Not necessarily a karaoke favorite. I have heard it sung a time or two, but
really,
it's up there.
I don't know how karaoke friendly Tom Petty is.
It's a rarity. You got to really be an aficionado, or at least fancy yourself an aficionado, to try and pull it off. We know how that kind of goes at karaoke. So, not the best of selections
you get
for his
a little
catalog, but
ambitious there.
Right. You think you got it, but you maybe necessarily don't.
Number 5, Wade.
Last one for me. "Don't Come Around Here No More." Got some psychedelic kind of synthy tones, which is always kind of good. If you're if you're listening to Tom Petty, you're kind of into it for the psychedelic synthy tones. Let's be honest, you're feeling some type of way if you're seeking his music out. So give me that. There's a little, some Stevie Nicks kind of references in there too. So I'm on board with "Don't Come Around Here No More" to round out a nice little tidy list, I think, here.
That is a nice little tidy list. At number 5, I'm going to go with "You Got Lucky." Again, I don't think you can go wrong with anything Tom Petty. And I just didn't realize how much his stuff resonated until I was sitting there late one night and came across that on I don't even remember what channel it was, but nice concert. Wish I'd been there. Give me "You Got Lucky" at number 5, and that rounds out our top 5 Tom Petty songs. Go pull something up on Spotify or on YouTube Music or wherever it is you get your music, and check him out. The late great Tom Petty out of Gainesville, Florida. That's going to do it for Top 5 Tuesday. That's going to do it for Main Street Sports today, here presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Be sure and come back with us tomorrow, where it'll be David Wilson sitting in for Wade Neely, who has other obligations to take care of on Hump Day. But David and I will be holding it down starting at 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. Be sure and come and check us out. We will see y'all